Greetings and peace to you all in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is Father Thulanis Kosana. My topic is the Psalms of Lament and the Suffering Christian. I believe that this topic is very relevant to each and every one of us because each of us has been through some form of suffering, whether physically, spiritually, mentally, or socially. We know what it means to suffer. And we know the challenge of being a Christian when things are not going well. I will divide my sessions into three. In the first two sessions, I'll be giving a talks on the topic, and the last session will be a healing service aimed at healing us in different aspects of our lives. In this first session particularly, I'll be dealing with the importance of being honest before God. And in the second session, I'll be taking you through some of the examples of the Psalms of Lament so that we understand practically what I shall be talking about in this first session. I don't know who decided on this topic, but it is based on the book that I've written titled, Is It Wrong to Question God in Prayer? With the subtitle, For the Suffering Christian. This book I wrote because of my pastoral experience when I engaged with people. I realized that a lot of our people go through a lot of suffering. And many times they are unable to be very honest with God when they pray. You know, they go through a lot internally. They would be suffering immensely. And in their suffering, they will be having this kind of anger and frustration against God because they will be feeling as if God is not there for them. Sometimes they will feel angry because they are good Christians who have dedicated themselves to God, who are praying, who are always there at church and who do their best to help and to follow what Christ wants. But they will be feeling as if God is not there in their lives. Whenever they pray, they will feel as if God does not listen to them. So they will be harboring this anger and resentment against God. And yet they will feel stifled within themselves, unable to express themselves because they feel that it is disrespectful, it is arrogant, and it is a sign of pride to be honest with God and to express their feelings as they are. I remember this lady whom I referred to in the book who wrote to me an SMS where she was really hurting and she had been through a lot. She was telling me that, Father, I've been through a lot, I've suffered a lot in my life. And she asked a few questions. She was saying, where was God when I was going through all the things that I went through? Where was He? The God in whom I believed, whom I served all my life. And she kept on asking many questions. Obviously, she didn't want an answer, but she was just asking a question out of frustration. But what captured me the most was the last line that she wrote, where she said, I wonder if God will punish me for saying these things. That caught my attention because it showed me that this lady was filled with fear for God and she was feeling guilty for being honest with herself. So in this session, I want us to look at this question. Is it really wrong to be honest with God? Is it wrong to tell God, I'm angry at you? Is it wrong to say to God, I feel frustrated because I don't see your hand in my life? Is it really wrong to be very, very honest with what you genuinely feel within yourself? This is what I wish us to concentrate on in this session. For that, I wish to start here. Any prayer you say, where you utter words which you don't mean in your heart, that prayer is useless. Because remember, God can see into your heart. And it is the truth of what you feel within you that God wants to hear. Remember, God does not need words. He can look into your heart. So if I kneel down and utter something I don't mean, that prayer is useless and is a waste of energy because it does not reflect the truth of what I am. Remember, God is the truth and therefore He rejoices at the truth. So prayer must be an honest communication with God. And if it isn't, then it is very, very useless and it is a waste of energy. But unfortunately, Christians are ruled by the spirituality of false humility. I call it false humility because it is the spirituality where people want to appear humble physically when they know inside that they are boiling with anger and frustration. And we come to Mass and present ourselves before God as if things are fine when we know that things are hidden. Because we have got this kind of a teaching, I don't know where it is from, where we were taught that you just cannot be honest with God because it is arrogant to express yourself as you feel within you. But is this really Christian? Is it really biblical? And this is therefore is what I wish us to address in this session. I want immediately that we move to Abraham in the book of Genesis chapter 18 verses 22 to 33. We hear there of the encounter between Abraham and God, where God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because of the sins that they had committed. But what I like the most here is the honesty of Abraham. Abraham did not like the idea of God going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. This really disturbed him so much. He felt that God was being unjust by doing that. Remember that Abraham did not know the truth about Sodom and Gomorrah. So he thought that that was just a normal country with normal people. And he believed very strongly that, as is the case everywhere, there must be good people there as well as bad people. So when he heard that God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, his heart bled because Abraham felt that God was going to destroy both the good and the bad. But what I like is this. He didn't keep quiet. He didn't have this false humility where he felt that this was unfair, but he felt afraid to say it out to God because he thought it will be seen as arrogance. What we hear is that Abraham went to God and said, but far be it from you. You are the judge of the world. A judge of the world is supposed to be just. Is it really good for the judge of the world to destroy both the good and the bad? And that's when he asked God and said, suppose you find 50 good people there. Are you going to destroy everybody, even the 50 good people there? But God said to him, no. If I find 50 good people, I'm not going to destroy the whole country. So God was saying to Abraham, because of the 50, I will spare the rest of the country. But Abraham was still not satisfied because maybe he said to himself, maybe I gave a bigger number. Let me take it down. And he said, Lord, what if you find 40? And God says, if I find 40, I will spare the whole country for the sake of 40. Abraham was still not satisfied. He kept on reducing the number until he reached 10, where he said, God, if you find there only 10 good people, will you destroy the whole country, including the 10? And God said, if I find the 10 good people, for the sake of the 10, I will spare the whole country. What I want us to concentrate on is how honest Abraham was before God. And I want us to be aware that God did not condemn Abraham for raising these issues with him. Think about this thing deeply. I mean, Abraham was literally challenging God and questioning his decision. It may sound to be arrogant to us, but he did it. But what I like is that God did not condemn him for questioning him. He actually gave him the answers. So you see, Abraham, by being honest, he was able to get the answers. And from there, he learned that actually in Sodom and Gomorrah, there was no one who was good except Lot and his family, who were later saved for having been good before the Lord. Let us now take the example of Moses, which we find in Exodus chapter 3 and chapter 4. We know about the story of Moses, how God called him to go to Egypt in order to deliver the Israelites who were slaves there. We know as well that Moses was an ordinary shepherd. He had no army. He was not a leader. He was not a rich man. He was just a simple shepherd. All he had in his hand was just a stick, nothing else. He had no power, nothing whatsoever. And yet he was being sent to Pharaoh. Pharaoh was not an ordinary king. He was not a king who ruled only his territory. He was a king who was above other kings. He had conquered many other kings from different territories who were always paying homage to him. He was more like an emperor who was the king who was ruling over other kings. So Egypt was an empire under which belonged many territories that were conquered by Pharaoh. Now you can just imagine when God was calling this shepherd, an ordinary shepherd, telling him to go to Pharaoh. Now, great kings bowed down before Pharaoh because he was the king of kings. Now, there was an ordinary man who was just an ordinary shepherd being called by God, and God telling him, go to Pharaoh to deliver my people Israel out of Egypt into a promised land. That was a very, very difficult thing. It was, humanly speaking, impossible. That is why Moses felt that this was an unrealistic desire from God. Now, he was obviously judging from the human perspective. And that's why when God called him, he felt uncomfortable about that. But what I like is that he didn't have this false humility where he felt this was impossible, and yet he kept quiet because he felt that it would have been arrogant to ask God and to question his decision. Instead, he raised his voice up. He really opened up to God and said, Lord, who am I? Who am I to go to Pharaoh? Now we can say that Moses was questioning God in a way that he was acting as if he knew better than God. Because as Christians, we have got this false humility where we say we can't even ask questions. And even though we know deep inside that we are struggling, we are bending, we are frustrated. Moses did not hide his feelings. He opened up to God and said, who am I to go to Egypt to tell Pharaoh such a thing? And when God convinced him, he told him, I will be with you, I will help you. And he even performed some miracles before Moses. But still Moses was not satisfied. He went on to say, look, Lord, I can't speak. And God said, don't worry, I will give you Aaron. But still Moses was not satisfied. He continued to say, but if they ask me and say, what is the name of the God who called you? What am I to say? All these things Moses was saying because he was trying to find a way not to go there. And he was trying to express his frustration and his feeling that what God wanted him to do was unrealistic. After God tried his best to convince him, even to perform miracles, even promising him that Aaron will be next to him to help him, still Moses felt that the task that he was given was unrealistic. He was judging as a human being. So he was still honest to say, God, please just send someone else. Was Moses arrogant? Of course not. He was honest. And what I like is that God did not condemn him for being honest. The last person I want to refer to is Jonah, who was called by God to go and preach to the Ninevites so that they may be saved by God. And God made it clear that if they are not saved, they were going to be destroyed by him. So Jonah, for selfish reasons, did not go there because he didn't want the people of Nineveh to be saved because they were not Jews. So he had a very evil and negative motive for not going there. He just wanted those people to perish and to be destroyed. That's why he didn't go there. Now in chapter 4, that is where we find an encounter between Jonah and God. After he preached to the Ninevites, God decided to spare them the destruction. And Jonah was angry for absolutely selfish motives. But when God came to him and when he encountered God, Jonah was very honest with God. He did not hide that selfish motive. He did not hide the true feeling that he had within himself. In chapter 4, verses 1 to 3, we are told that Jonah said to God, this is the reason why I didn't want to go there in the first place, because I knew that if I preach, you were going to save them. That was very selfish of Jonah. But what I like is that he was honest before God. And what I like even more is that God did not condemn him for being honest, even though his motives were very, very selfish. And lastly, in the same chapter 4, verses 5 to 9, we hear that it was very, very hot and Jonah was sleeping under a little shrub. But God sent a worm to go and eat that shrub. So it died up so much that Jonah was exposed to the sun. So God came to Jonah and asked him, are you angry because of what has happened? I like how Jonah responded. He said, I am as angry as dead. He was very honest to tell God that this is how I feel. I am angry. Angry to an extent of feeling like I could rather die at this very present moment. The good thing is that God did not condemn him for being honest, and he did not see his honesty as arrogance. Why is it therefore, dear Christians, that we feel it is arrogance to be honest before God? Why is it that we feel we must hide our feelings before God? Why is it that when we find ourselves angry and frustrated, sometimes even against God himself, we feel that we shouldn't come to him to express this to him? Who taught us that we should be dishonest before God? Who taught us that if you are angry and frustrated, you shouldn't go to mass because you are angry? Who taught us that if you are harboring resentment against somebody, you shouldn't go to mass? Who taught us that we should hide who we are and how we feel before God? Jesus said it is those who are sick who need the doctor. If I have these feelings in me, I am sick. I need a doctor. And that is what God needs from me in order to heal me from where I am. I gave an example of only 3 people who were honest before God, and God did not condemn them. Instead, he helped them from where they are. Even Jonah, who was very selfish, God did not condemn him when he expressed his true feelings. He liked it and he addressed it according to the need that Jonah had. God is our Father and we are his children. As his children, we have a relationship with him. And something that is fundamental in any relationship is communication. And communication is an expression of anything that you feel within yourself. Prayer cannot be prayer unless and until it is honest. Any kind of prayer, which is a communication, which only expresses words which do not come from the heart, is a useless prayer and is a waste of energy. Prayer is a communication and it must express the true feelings that come from the depth of your heart. It is Christian and it is biblical to be honest before the Lord.